It happened on a Thursday, the kind of ordinary day fate chooses for revolutions. I was in the middle of discussing portfolios and retirement dreams with a client when the front doors of the building slammed open like a thunderclap. Heads turned, the room stilled. And then, there she was, Karen Miller, president of the HOA, ruler of regulations, queen of grievances on gilded heels. Her eyes gleamed with the cruel delight of someone who'd waited far too long for revenge, and now could taste it like blood in the water. Designer stilettos struck the marble like a war drum as she charged forward, stabbing the space between us with a freshly manicured finger. "You're fired," she barked, her voice slicing the lobby air like broken glass. "Effective immediately. Pack up and vanish. You've got 1 hour." The silence that followed was louder than her voice. Clients stared. Employees froze mid-step. My cheeks burned, but I held steady. That was the moment where everything could have crumbled. But I stood taller. Because she didn't know. Not yet. "Karen," I said with a stillness that softened the storm, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." She blinked, smirked, mistook grace for weakness. "The only misunderstanding," she sneered, "is that you ever thought you belonged here." She folded her arms, regal, righteous, ready to watch me fall. She had no idea. Just 6 weeks ago, I was a quiet voice in a cubicle, a small-time financial advisor stacking bricks of dignity in a place that never felt entirely mine. Karen made sure of that. She was a tyrant in pearls. On paper, just a building manager. But in practice? A self-appointed watchdog both at work and back home in the HOA, weaponizing rules like arrows, micromanaging thermostats, dictating which parking spots were worthy of her approval, reporting violations like she was dispatching troops. Push back, and your mailbox might mysteriously fill with HOA fines. Keep your head down and you might just make it through the month without being scolded over inappropriate lawn decor. But beneath her tyranny, something had shifted in silence. 2 months ago, my uncle passed, and with his final gift, a door opened. A sizable inheritance, a chance to reshape my trajectory. And when I learned that this very building was quietly for sale, it felt like destiny whispering, "Take it." So I did. A holding company, an anonymous bid, a yes. And now, as Karen spun her petty empire tighter and tighter, I stood quietly, folding documents, finalizing papers with quiet determination, knowing that very soon the crown she clutched so tightly would vanish from her hands. A week ago, she cornered me in the break room, flinging insults like arrows. "This isn't a strip mall," she hissed, jabbing at my chest. "Bring clients through the side next time, or expect to die in that tiny office you call a career." She never noticed the papers I had in my briefcase. Title deeds, final signatures, ownership. I didn't flinch. I didn't need to, because the building was already mine. So yesterday, as she screamed my dismissal in front of strangers, I simply gathered my files, smiled softly, apologized to the clients for the theatrics, and then, within perfect earshot, I made a call. "Hi, James? Yes, it's official. The building transfer went through this morning. Please prepare the new management notices, effective immediately." I watched her expression waver. Confusion first, then disbelief, then fear. And I walked out, the echo of my heels blending with the sound of her crumbling certainty. By sunrise, change had arrived like a quiet revolution. Signs posted, locks changed, the new management visible and calm. At 9 a.m. sharp, Karen arrived like she always did, certain of her dominion. Card swipe, red light, again, red. She pounded on the glass, disbelief pulsing through every vein as a guard pointed to the notice. New owner, new rules, new order. By the time she pushed in, furious and flushed, her office had already been sealed off. She spun on her heel and screamed, "Where is he? Where's that nobody who thinks he can play king?" I stepped forward, calm, ready. "Good morning, Karen. I believe David was explaining the change in management." She laughed, bitter, nervous, hollow. "This is absurd. You can't afford a building like this. You drive a Honda." I let the silence linger before I answered. "Smith Properties is my holding company. I bought the building last week, official as of yesterday, about an hour before you fired me." Her face drained of all color, like a castle caught mid-collapse. You, this isn't legal. I'll sue. I've managed this place for 7 years." I handed her a card. "My legal team's happy to discuss, but you should know, we've got documentation, testimonies, evidence of a workplace ruled by fear. Your position has been eliminated, effectively and immediately." The queen had been dethroned. She snapped. She started throwing things, a ceramic pot hurtling past an elderly client, a scream tearing from her throat as she slammed the receptionist's computer to the floor. "This is my building, do you hear me? Mine! You're all fired, every traitor in this damn place!" The front desk shook as she pounded it with desperation and delusion. David called security. I stepped forward, hands raised in calm. "Karen, please, don't do this." She turned on me, eyes manic with fury. "You think you've won? I'm still HOA president. I'll bleed you dry with fines. I'll make sure your grass dies before it reaches regulation height." Her threats cracked through the silence. Security reached for her arms. She slapped one across the face. 911 was dialed. Within minutes, law arrived through the door she once considered hers. They tried to speak reason, but reason was long gone. She barricaded herself behind the lobby desk, shouted, swore, and when officers approached, she lunged at me. That was the final straw. She was cuffed, raging, vowing ruination, screaming headlines no one would remember by morning, and as they led her away, the echo of her voice slowly disappeared into the quiet hush of a lobby finally at peace. A week later, justice issued its verdict. 3 misdemeanor charges, $7,000 in damages, 100 hours of community service, and a restraining order. But the gravestone of her reign came not from the courts, but from the very kingdom she'd terrorized. An emergency HOA board meeting, votes tallied with breathless finality, unanimous removal. When the news reached her, Karen sat frozen, mouth open, but this time no words came, not even a whisper. For the first time in years, the queen had nothing left to say. And in the silence that followed, something strange settled into the building. Something unfamiliar. Peace.